Hi guys, I'm Christine L. Saunders, aka Daughter of Poseidon 1290, and this is my channel, and I would like to welcome you, each and every one of you, to watch these videos, because this is, I'm 35, I'm reading the Percy Jackson Olympians books for the very first time, and I must say, I wasn't expecting like the immersive experience that I am. I must admit, when I get into a book, I start reading, and trust me, I started reading like 2 weeks ago. I think it was the 4th. I started reading the books on the 4th of March, and I am already on book 3. I finished book 3 today, and I'm on to reading the 4th one, which I will get onto later. So what are you expecting on this channel? Well, I will be reviewing each and every one of these books, and trust me, I'm going all out. I'm going to read these books, the Heroes of the Olympus books, and then the other Percy Jackson books. Like, I'm a Percy Jackson fan. Within 3 months, you know, it's astounding. I'm from the UK. I'm even writing down predictions for the next season, so you can expect, and I will tell you that I've got a lot of items that are either Greek related or Percy Jackson related merchandise, including 2 of the tops which are on here. So I will be talking to you briefly about the review, briefly about this book, because I find that I can't, you know, my reviews are kind of like long, but this one is going to be really to the point, and I'll tell you my best parts of it. Just so you know, this is a spoiler alert. If you have not read the books, if you have not seen any of the series, go and watch them. Go and get the books. These books just were from Amazon. Managed to get them, 30 quid. There you go. I'm not promoting. Just go on to Amazon and buy them, or have a look in your local charity shops in the UK. I did that. I found 4 of the 5 Heroes of Olympus books, ordered number 4 and got the wrong version. Yeah, I will be hunting for the House of Hades in the coming weeks if I don't get the right book. So I'll be going up and down the UK, like the southern part of the UK, and trying to find the book in charity shops. I just want that one book version, and I will get to that once I get to that book. So, Percy Jackson Olympians, The Titan's Curse. Start to finish, exceptional. The action, the emotional driven aspect of the story, how I can tell why that with book 2 or season 2 they changed the siren scene and the Cece's Island, so that Cersei was the one that told Percy about his fatal flaw. I'm not going to say it, but I can understand how they changed it to Circe and not Athena in this book, which I must admit is really quite interesting. And, you know, in this video I will be going on to what I predict for season 3. So, what did I think overall? 10 out of 10. And I'm going to say this, and I'm sorry to any Harry Potter fans or something. I've read the Harry Potter books. I've read Lord of the Rings. Yeah. It doesn't compete. One, these are so immersive. You get into the action, you get into the storytelling, and you can understand where it's coming from. And to be honest, if I had to write a book, I always would choose first person narrative, which means point of view for those who are not in the English language. Like, point of view, you get into his head, you are his thoughts. That is what you're doing. That's what you are literally Percy in his, you're in his thoughts. You've literally taken, you can mind read, and I thought it was exceptional. The stories, the showing of like how Percy is driven to try and rescue Annabeth. That is what the story is about. The Titan's Curse, I don't think it's about like overall what the what the end result is about lifting up. I think it's mainly about what actually happens, the effects it has on the people who have to hold that. Yes. Can I just make you all aware, this book is not for the faint-hearted. I don't know what it is, but when characters die, like, spoiler, die in books, it makes me like emotional, and I think that is what he was trying to get at. These are teenagers, these are children of the gods that have been pushed to breaking point. Now, you have Thalia, you have Percy, you have Annabeth, you have Luke. I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of point of views from other characters' perspective, and especially, spoiler alert, I think you're going to have more of Annabeth and Luke connecting before she is forced to do what she has to do. And then you're going to have moments of Artemis, and I have a feeling they might have more of a dream, extended dream sequences, and it'll come out throughout the series. Each episode there'll be glimpse of Annabeth in this sort of thing, because I think morally Percy is trying on the quest just to rescue Annabeth. He doesn't care about the quest, and say he cares about Artemis and stuff, because he wants the gods he wants to create this safe space. And deep down in this book, there are a lot of hidden Percy moments. You don't see it if you have, I'm going to say this, if you are neurodivergent, which means you have some like dyslexia or ADHD or stuff, and you can't read a book for too long, trust me when I say this, you could read between the lines. Anyone could read, and when they put their mind to it. But I really enjoyed this book, and it's definitely one, I can see why people say this is one of their favourite books, and why we have waited so long for a book to be like this book to come out. Because, like, if you're like me, 2016 Serial Monsters came out. 2013 the Lightning Thief came out with a movie, and it didn't sit right with people because they messed up real big on the second film. And what they've done is they put 4 books, so they put book 2, 3, 4 and 5 into the Sea of Monsters movie, and just crammed it all in, which I can see why people dislike that. I'm not blaming the characters, not blaming the actors, and also the actors were too old. But by far, I can't wait, and I'd give this book a 10 out of 10. Purely because of the suspense, the action, the emotional roller coaster of a ride, a tidal wave if you want, and I think there was a lot that Percy and Annabeth actually wants to thank Percy in a way, and I think we're going to get a cheek kiss. I don't know, I think we might get a cheek kiss and a cuddle, and I think that there's going to be, when they fly up to Olympus, I think it's going to be Annabeth and Percy's going to have Annabeth because she'll be weak and she'll be drained, and I think they're going to fly I know it sounds corny, fly off to the Olympus on Blackjack, which I think would be a really good moment of him rescuing the person that he cares about the most, because that seems to be a running theme, and I think Annabeth will give Percy a cuddle and kiss on the cheek, and I think that would kind of like, it's like his way of saying, her way of saying thank you. I don't think words are going to mimic how thankful she is. She's going to just collapse, and I think she'll be the one, because there's a lot of twists. I think they're going to keep the storyline the same, but I have a feeling Luke's going to be at Westvale. Is it Westvale? I'm trying to remember what the name of the school is. Anyway, when they get to the school, I think Luke is going to be there and they're going to try and do their best to like the hat, or it might be some of the demigods that are with them. Because face it, Percy needs to find the hat, and I reckon there could be a lot of foreshadowing for the next book, which is why I think when they say goodbye and the final episode, I think Annabeth is yet again going to give Percy a really long hug and a kiss on the cheek. And where some people have been saying, oh, I think Percy's going to put Annabeth's necklace, Camp Half-Blood necklace, around her neck, and a hat. Because face it, you don't see that in the book. That's the one thing I said. You heard about the hat, Percy was using it, and then you don't hear it. And I think it's going to be like they focused on the hat a lot, and I've noticed that one minute, like season 2, they did a close up of Annabeth's knife, and then they did a close up of her hat, and that's what I think is the main key. They're being close, being careful of what they're foreshadowing, and making people to solve a mystery of what happened to it. So my predictions, going on to my predictions, it's going to be a long one. I predicted this tonight, and episode 1, I think it's going to be called My Rescue Operation Goes Wrong, based on chapters 1 to 3. Whether or not some of those might be moved into other episodes is another thing, but this is my take. So why do I think it's 1 to 3? I think because I've noticed a pattern with the series and the producers and the writing room and the writers' room, and I have a feeling they're going to just cram the basis of the story, so the start of the story, into My Rescue Operation, where he goes to Westvale High or something. I can't remember the name, and I can't seem to find it on there. Don't know why. But if you know the name of the school, and then obviously them camping out of sight, because I think it gets into the action very quickly, and that's what I think episode 1's going to be about. It's going to be about Sally taking Percy and Thalia and stuff to find, and Annabeth to go towards where Grover is, and then and I think it's going to be set in the day time or lunchtime type of thing, and then I think, or late afternoon, and then I think that they meet Grover, they get changed into their nice snazzy outfit, especially Annabeth and Percy, and they're going to go into a room. Thalia's going to do Annabeth's hair, makeup. She's going to go all out, and saying, oh, you need to take your necklace off because we're undercover. And I think that's going to be a moment of sisterly bonding. And then Percy is getting changed into his suit, his dapper suit, and I think that's going to be, and then they walk into the hall and start mingling and saying, oh, we'll go our separate ways, blah blah blah. And then I think generally that's where that clip, that last tease, may I say, of Percy and Annabeth dancing, which I think is going to be really good, because he's going to be feeling a bit awkward. Annabeth really wants to tell him something, but she doesn't quite know how. And that's when all hell breaks loose, because that's a fairly quick one. And then you've got Annabeth falling off and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be episode 1, is going to be chapters 1, 2 and 3. Episode 2 is going to be set when they're back at camp. I've noticed that routine, that the action happens, everything happens so fast. I think Percy is going to end up knocked out or something. I'm just saying, he's always ending up knocked out in the first part, and he's also got something, and then I think it's be called An Old Dead Friend Comes to Visit, based on chapters 4, 5 and 6. If you want to read them, let me know. And that's going to be based in Camp Half-Blood. That is how I'm working it. So at the start, they're going to, episode 1, they're going to be travelling to this school to find these 2 half-bloods. And then obviously something's going to happen to Annabeth. That is what's going to happen. And I generally think it's going to tie in with the books really well, but with a bit of a change in character arcs, like Thalia, because obviously we saw Thalia and we saw that like Western Western standoff between Thalia and obviously Percy at the end of season 2, and this is really where it's going to get good, because I reckon Percy's going to just run into Mr. D and try and find Chiron and say, look, I need to find Annabeth. I think he's just going to get to the point, and he's like, I don't care if you're going to, I need to find Annabeth. And obviously they meet the hunters of Artemis back in episode 1, which is going to be very interesting. And then obviously you got the hunters are there. You've got the capture the flag, the events of capture the flag, which I think some of the clips have been to do with capture the flag. And obviously, yeah, I have a feeling that would be the whole story. And then you've got episode 3, which is a make a dangerous promise. Now this is talking when Percy promises, he literally finds, I don't know how, but I have a feeling he will have the hat at this stage. I think he finds it in Westvale. I think in the school. I can't remember the name of it. I can't find it in the book for some strange reason. And yeah, I have a feeling that he will be under Annabeth's cap. And he will also have Annabeth's necklace with him in his pocket, keeping her with him all the time, because that is, so Percy will be literally holding two of the Annabeth's greatest treasures, which I think is really good. And I think episode 3, as I said, it would be based on chapters 7, 8 and 9. Sorry, I've got reference here. I've wrote it down. 7, 8 and 9. Why? Because I think it will make sense. They always have capture the flag in episode 2, or one of the activities in episode 2. They also start with Percy, with his mum, you know. And I think I can sense like what the writers are trying to do. They're trying to get a good setup and basis. Like, it makes sense. Episode 3 is mainly Percy chasing after, making a decision after and making a promise. And that, I think, is going to be really what's bugging him here. And, you know, I think that is where the writers are thinking. And then episode 4 will be I break a few rocket ships. Chapters 10 to 12. Why? Because it makes sense. You know, you have to make the story make sense. And I think that's what's going to happen. You know, this is going on to 30 minutes, but I'm a bit chilled tonight. I'm happy that I'm reading the Percy Jackson series. 10, 11, 12. I think that's going to be when we're going to meet. The rocket ships, I think, are when they're fighting. Let me just check in my reference. Yes. I break a few rocket ships. And I think they're at the Airspace Museum. Because they like doing that. They like doing something which runs like the next part of the story. I think chapter 9 might coincide with episode 5. Nope. I think chapter 9 might be in episode 4 as well. But just at the end of chapter 9. So I think that's where the writers are going. They're trying to work at sport. Right. So I think that's what's going to happen. And then number 12, like at the end of it, you see a goddess with Percy, telling him that he feels more about, he has an underlying thing with, and for Annabeth, which Percy kind of like really keeps on denying, but you know, you can't hide it. The way he looks at her and cares for her in more loyalty than any other. That's what real love is about, is showing loyalty. So I reckon that is where that story ends, on chapter 12 ends, and then episode 5. Easy title. This would be an easy title because it makes sense. We've had action, a lot of action, in episode 5 in the last 2. So in season 1 you had them going to the water world. Annabeth, Percy. I have a feeling that Percy might dream about Annabeth in this episode, because I like, that's what's spurring him on, and he just wants to know if she's safe. And episode 5, I'm going to name it "We Visit the Junkyard of the Gods." Chapter 13. That is it. That is basically all, because that chapter is probably the longest chapter in the Titan's Curse book, and I tell you what, it's probably one of my favourite chapters overall, and I must admit, I did enjoy it. I could sense what was happening. Yeah, there's a lot that could be said. So chapter 13 is definitely just episode 5, all on. So we visit the junkyard of the gods, and that is, and that's going to be action, that's going to be emotional, that's going to be that's going to be suspense. And I think we're going to get a lot of battered Percy, and he's going to be yearning, and he's saying, we've got to go, we've just got to go and rescue Annabeth, because that's my key. I think Thalia and Percy might just be one at the moment. Grover obviously can sense Percy's empathy and what his feelings at this point, and yeah. So going to episode 6. Oh yeah, we've had hints from Percy Jackson himself, Walker Scobell, and I predict that it's going to be called "I Have a Damn Problem." Episode 6 is going to be the funniest episode, I think, of the whole series alone. And it's going to be at the dam, the Hoover Dam. And I think we might see a certain mortal in that episode. And it's going to be action. And by all means, I think they might do 50-minute episodes in this series, because it's longer and the books are very there's a lot of suspense, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of mystic forces working, and I have a feeling the chapters that will fit in this episode will be 14 to 16. Why? Because it works. I was reading through, I was just seeing the end, and I'm like, yeah, that could be just one, because it made sense. And that's how I think they go, is they have one episode where they have 2 chapters in one episode, and then the story after, and that's how they go. And sometimes they might flip it, or they might swap chapters over to make it work. And I think in this episode we might go back to Annabeth and Luke and Artemis and the events of what is happening, and Percy seeing, because I'm like, okay, Percy going back and forward in his dreams. But yeah, I have a feeling that's what's going to happen in that specific episode. Is like, it's just going, be a load of damn jokes. Excuse the pun. And it's going to be a funny episode. And I am going to say these are really going to be good for the Titan's Curse. It's not easy when you've never read the book and you're trying to figure out, what are they going to do how they're going to work it. There is going to be a lot of action. There's going to be a lot of flying scenes because personally this story has a lot of flight in them. And episode 7, now getting to the nitty gritty part. Episode 7, I'm going to say, is A Friend Says Goodbye. Yeah, but it's metaphorically, that's a good word for me on a Saturday. Metaphorically, that can mean anything. Like, all these titles could be swapped. They could have different synonyms or meanings to the story, but they still keep the story intact, which I think is going to be good. And I think A Friend Says Goodbye will be based on chapters 17 and 18. If you've noticed, I've put nearly every chapter to an episode to make it work. And that's what I would do. It's like what chapters would work in each episode and what the titles would be. And I think A Friend Says Goodbye is a really good one. It could mean anything. If you know what chapters 17 and 18 are, and you would totally just read it, go through it, read the last pages and make it make sense into a TV show. Chapters 17 and 18, why? It just makes sense that they're, like, you've got the rescue, you've got, I've forgotten what chapter Percy, sort of things. Yeah, so A Friend Says Goodbye is definitely the title of 18 and is based on there's going to be a cliffhanger. Because after I Have a Damn Problem, you've got like We Meet a Dragon, where they meet the general, and then obviously number 17 is, it's going to carry on from that. Do I think they might like, so A Friend Says Goodbye is the title of chapter 18, but I think that works better. So I think that's going to be episode 7, and then episode 8 will be The Gods Vote How to Kill Us, based on chapter 19 and 20. And yeah, enough said. And I think you get that sweet moment. I think when Percy, Annabeth and Grover get back from Olympus. So basically that whole last episode, you are going to get a dance scene of the perfect Percabeth moment in the whole book and the whole TV show in total. And yeah, you get the gods. You get them going back to camp, but I think they're going to end up on camp, the Half-Blood Hill, with next to so it's a callback to season 1, episode 8, the last part of Percy, Annabeth and Grover when they give a hug, and Percy says, "We'll come back this time next year. We'll meet back here." And I think that would be another callback to, you know, season 1, which they seem to be doing quite a lot. So I think we are going to get a wise girl moment, like as in callback to season 2, where Percy rescues Annabeth and he says, "You're right, wise girl." And I think that's what's going to happen. Percy and Annabeth are going to share Seaweed Brain and Wise Girl. It's going to be emotional. And I reckon it's going to, you know, Percy and Annabeth are just going to link and sync. And I think there's going to be a hug between Percy, Annabeth and Grover at the end. And then that will be... And then Percy and Annabeth will have their moment cut short again, like what Grover did at the start of season 1, episode 5, where Annabeth gives Percy the longest hug ever, and then and Percy obviously gives her a hug back. And I think that's where it's going to end. I think it's going to be another cliffhanger. And then I think they'll, without spoiling too much of the end, I think when, unless you want, I will do a no spoilers, spoiler-free sort of moment, but you can't really do these videos without spoiling the books and spoiling the whole story. But I do think that it's going to be, Percy is definitely going to zone out. He's definitely going to be on a quest to find Annabeth, his ideal girl. And I cannot wait. If you want me to do a brief rundown again, not on this video because this is 42 minutes long, longer than longer couple of episodes, I'll be happy to chill out. And if you want to add me on Facebook, you can. It's Christine L. Saunders. You can follow me on Facebook, or you can add me, one or the other. I don't mind. You know, the more the merrier. And then you can follow me on my Instagram and TikTok, which is Daughter of Poseidon 1290, at Daughter of Poseidon 1290, or you can just find my link for my YouTube, which is Christina L. Saunders, or at Daughter of Poseidon 1290. And I am going to predict when it's likely to come out on Disney Plus, which I did earlier on the video. But I am going to say this. I have a feeling it will be around the 14th. The week of the 14th to the 17th of December. I know. It's going to be one of that week. I'm predicting it might be the Thursday, or it might be the Monday, the 14th. It makes sense because the event happens on the 14th of December, which would be a really good birthday present for me because mine's on the 12th. So yeah, so I am going to leave you now. I must admit, I didn't do a what out of 10 do I give this book, and I will definitely give this a 10 out of 10. Can't remember if I've done it. This is totally unscripted, but I will be doing a new video. Probably not today, not tomorrow, it's Sunday. But Monday I will be doing a video because I will show you all my Percy Jackson stuff, which I've managed to buy. Gone mad, honestly, getting there. So, thank you, and happy reading. Bye.